Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, a free site, keepingitfree.blogspot.com, a free site. Nothing I say in this video should be construed as investment advice. Your operating assumption is that if I mention an investment vehicle in this piece, that I'm either considering buying it or own it already. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, folks, you understand that most of these state pensions, right, pensions for firemen, teachers, state workers, are backed by the taxpayer, right? You get that you yourself don't have to be a pension beneficiary to move to a state and to suddenly owe a share of the state pension, right? They're going to tax you if there's a shortfall. Some of these states have huge shortfalls. Let's talk about one of them. And let me add, because these pensions are Ponzi schemes, because there's a debt that future workers are going to have to pay, just understand what the rollout of robots is going to cause, right? If you have workers in the pension plan and they're being replaced by robots, just understand the robots can't pay pension fees. So these Ponzi schemes that are relying on today's workers paying the bill for retirees, right, pension beneficiaries, they're going to get deeper in the hole the more robotization there is, right? So we're talking about the teachers union. Let's say that Elon Musk and others deliver on the promise, and you have robot teachers. Let's say AI delivers on the promise and you have fewer teachers. Folks, that's going to be a pension plan disaster. That'll lead to fewer workers paying into a system that has today's workers paying the bills of the older generation. Right now, we're talking about pension plans here in this video. Understand the logic extends to programs like Social Security. Well, let's get back to this pension conversation. Let me just say right now, and please feel free to challenge me on the numbers. All I ask is that you go on Microsoft Copilot or Grok or Gemini 3 and do some independent research before you do. That's all I ask. Folks, the state of New Jersey has roughly 9.6 million residents. Remember that figure, 9.6 million residents. Believe it or not, they have a pension shortfall of more than $100 billion. Again, double check me on the numbers. Do your own research. $100 billion. It's actually over $100 billion. Will be, believe it or not, conservative in this video. So let's use $100 billion. What you need to know is that if New Jersey's $100 billion pension shortfall were spread evenly across its 9.6 million residents, and yes, this includes children, this includes newborns in the maternity ward that were born today. Just understand that each person's share of this $100 billion pension shortfall would be $10,417. Again, $10,417 for every man, woman, and child in the state of New Jersey. Let me make another point too. Folks, we're just talking about public pensions here. Right? You're going to have pension disasters all over the place. We're just talking about public pension problems here. Let me make another point. Let's put percentages on it. New Jersey's public pensions are underfunded to the point where they only have 50 to 60% of funding that's needed going forward. Understand what that means. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to pick the lower number here. I'm going to pick the 50%. What that means is that one of every two pension beneficiaries, again, one of every two pension beneficiaries is not going to get paid. If you spread the losses between the pension beneficiaries to account for the shortfall, then that means that both would only get paid 50% of what they were promised. Right? 50%. So what I want you to do is to look at the number of people around you today. Let's say you're on a block. Let's say the people across the street from you have 2 kids. Right? Folks, every household like that, 4 people, according to this math, would owe more than $40,000 just to save, just to even out, not even a surplus, the public pension system. Do the math, adding up the houses, the people across from you, $40,000, right? It's actually more than that. Understand the figure is $10,417. We're, just for simplicity purposes here, ignoring an additional $1,600 that each household would own. Let's say your block has 20 houses on it. Each house, just in your block and immediate area, each house owing more than $40,000 just to even out, just to address the shortfall in the public pension system. So let's pivot here. Right? We understand Japan is buying fewer U.S. bonds. Right? The 10-year right now is paying a paltry 4% or so per year on a 10-year commitment. Pundits like Michael Burry, the investor highlighted in The Big Short, right, openly says he'd rather be in cash than U.S. bonds because he senses that interest rates are going to jump, and when interest rates jump, the value of your bond drops. He doesn't trust the U.S. bond market. So what's going to happen? I'm going to give you one man's opinion here. We're going to debase the currency. When you have a system like the system here in California, where the taxpayer is ultimately responsible for any shortfall in public pensions, right? I'm just telling you diplomatically, we can't afford it. So what's going to happen is they're going to print money to address this financial obligation. What's going to explode? You know what's going to explode. It's exploding now. Gold, silver. Crypto right now is coming out of a downturn of the last few weeks. Bitcoin's going to explode. Ethereum is going to explode. right? What's not going to explode is the US dollar. Now, you had a governor's race recently in New Jersey. One would think that the gubernatorial candidates had some plan on how to solve a $100 billion shortfall in a state that has less than 10 million people. To the people of New Jersey, folks, have at it in the comments section of this YouTube video. I would argue that Mikey Sherrill, the new governor of New Jersey, she'll be sworn in a few weeks, ran on a platform of "we will not raid." Think about this. $100 million shortfall. $100 billion shortfall. She ran on a platform of "we will not raid pension funds." What's the raid? The pension funds are bloody. They're in the red. I would argue that she offered no solutions to the current pension crisis in New Jersey. And the public does not know enough to challenge these politicians, even those vying to be governor. Right? So, folks, there are no answers. In New Jersey, there are no answers. In Illinois, which is at least as bad off as New Jersey, right? I need for people to consider the idea that you can have states with huge pension holes like these states, and politicians like the governor of Illinois throwing his hat in the ring to run for president. Folks, it's preposterous, right? So Bitcoin, gold, Ethereum, silver, just understand when they debase the currency, and it's not an if, it's a when they debase the currency, you need to be ready. You need to be in hard assets. With housing, we'll use a euphemism here, readjusting. You and I know the line I want to really say is falling in price. With housing down and headed further down. Right? With insurance rates related to real estate rising. Right? Talk to anyone from Florida who owns a condo. You understand that you need to get into the right real assets. Right? Doesn't make a difference if real assets are tokenized if the underlying asset is a home that's dropping in value. You want to get into the right real assets. While we figure that out, the safe play are gold, silver, and I would say the premium cryptos, particularly if you're risk averse and don't want to roll the dice on experimental cryptos, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's see how this unfolds. And, as I said before, whenever you're dealing with a Ponzi, think Social Security. Right? Whenever you're dealing with any program where current earners are paying the bills of an older generation, you need to understand that the more that assembly line is run by robots, the more robots that join the assembly line, the less likely it is that the Ponzi is going to be successful. Right? Robots don't get paid. They're not making Social Security contributions. Those are my thoughts. I look forward to yours in the comments section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.